Okay, let me do an update. I posted, that way you guys know I post everything myself. I just posted 2 videos. You know, most of you know I post 8 videos a night. So I just did a YouTube video and a OneDrive. And you all saw that before you're going to see this. Now this is just going to be a real-time update. It's April 10th, 2019. And so I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking, let me go ahead and post all my 8 videos, but it's in my mind, so tonight you'll get those 2, and then you'll get this one, and there'll be a little update. Sometimes, a few days ago, one of my friends, he's a good friend, but he got me real mad, set me off. I didn't hit him or anything of that nature, but it was like, he got me mad. And, on the street, people have their different things. But I remember I told Furman one day, I seen my friend Furman at the island, and he's got all these problems he's dealing with. And I was upset at somebody, and I was going to go look for them because I was upset. And then later, he asked me the next day. I said, no, I let it go because I had to upload the videos or post. Earlier today, there's one of the guys on the street. Some people are dangerous for real. I think a lot of people fake it, okay? Just fake it, okay? I've been around for a long time. And there's a friend of mine that you saw in some of the videos. We call him Sarge. And Sarge has the whole military look all the time. The shaved head and the military boots and all that kind of stuff. And he talks like you might have heard him on a few of my videos. But I have my questions about Sarge, but that's fine. I call him by his name. He likes being called David. But he's always got that whole military tough thing. And I remember one time, because I'll get to the final instance why I made this video. But I remember one time, Sarge likes to drink with my friend George, and I don't drink. But if I go visit George in the spots where he sits, sometimes Sarge is there. But I remember one day, months ago, one of my other friends who's not around anymore, I knew him from the street, he came up to me and he said, a bunch of gangsters from in town were going to jump Sarge at the bus stop, by the way. It just comes to, because something happened at the bus stop today. And the other guy told me, and Sarge pulled out a .45 Magnum and had a big gun, and he was going to blow those gangsters away. And I believed it, it's not that I doubted it. I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I didn't know why he wanted to tell me that. And then the next day when I go see George, my friend Sarge was like hiding. And when I went up to George, Sarge kind of jumped out. I said, oh, Sarge, I didn't see you there. And he's like, I didn't want you to. Then later I realized he told that other guy to tell me about that .45 thing. So the next day he would see if I was intimidated. I kind of figured that out later. So I just always felt like Sarge puts on this persona of the whole, like he's a street military veteran and guerrilla fighter. And so earlier today, Sarge, like at about 3 o'clock when I'm not feeling well, and I went to see some friends. And Sarge was what we call flying a sign, asking for money. And he makes the veteran thing, okay? He plays on that. So I stopped at the corner because it was the light. And I said, you want to ride? Sarge, I was going to give you a ride. So he answered me like in a smart way. So I went and did the turnaround. I said, I'm going to go have a talk with Sarge. But I couldn't find him. So for about 2 hours, I stopped, I walked. I get out and I walked all over. Could not find him. So I told George, look, I'm looking for Sarge. I haven't seen him, John. They knew I was looking for Sarge. And then I told Furman, because I did the turnaround, I said, no, this time I'm going to have to go and talk to this guy. Sure enough, at about 3:30, he was passed out drunk on the bus stop on Waldron Road and SPID, right where sometimes I see them. And I wasn't positive it was him, but I parked the car, and then I went up to the bus stop. It was Sarge, but it was just me and Sarge. And I just was going to let him wake up. I wasn't going to start anything. But I wasn't going to let him get away with. If Sarge sometimes acts a little rude, and I'm with some of the guys, or George, I'm nice. But because it was just one-on-one, like, hey, you want to ride, Sarge? And he answered me in a way that was like wisecracking. And I wasn't going to, let that slide. So he was drunk on the bus bench. And I figured I'll wait till he wakes up. I was just there, and the bus came by. We stopped, and I waved him off. And then my friend Bobby Johnson sees me. And he told me he saw the car where I parked by a pizza place. And I waved Bobby off because I was like, don't come over here right now, Bob. And I said, unless you're going to catch the bus. Yeah, I'm going to get the bus. So my friend Bobby was there. Then 2 other people showed up. And I just wasn't going to do anything first. But then as Sarge was drunk on that bus stop, I figured I need to do something to wake him up. Because I was there for an hour and a half. So I started talking to Bobby, who's a veteran. I said, Bobby, how many years did you do in the military? Sarge is always talking about that. And I think he fakes some of this background. And so Sarge wakes up because I'm right over him. And he starts recounting the whole military thing. And I said, I wasn't talking to you. I'm talking to Bobby. And then he's drunk on the bus bench. And the other people had to stand because he's sleeping there. But I just hit his foot, not hit it because he's on the bus bench. I rubbed into his foot. Now, he didn't hit me, but he just, tapped me. And I basically let him know, oh, now, Sarge, back down. Because I was mad. I said, you put your hands on me. Who do you think you are putting your hands on me? Now, maybe it was good Bobby was there because I know Bobby. He'll tell everybody. Not that everybody, they're going to know now. But it was the whole persona and then the way he was acting that day. So then it went on for about an hour, maybe. And he does pretends maybe he does it, I don't know, karate, military, guerrilla warfare and all. But he had hit me, you see. That would just tap me like that. And that was enough legally for me to defend myself. And I think Sarge knew it. Because he said, oh, you shouldn't have touched me, Sarge. And I was a little more mad. And yes, he backed down. Meaning to me, the whole thing's fake. And then Bobby's there watching. And then, of course, it looked bad for him in front of the other people. Because he plays that whole thing all the time. Military, and maybe that's how he survives. He's a little older than me, Sarge. But that, the way he... And then, at first... I settled down a little bit, and if he kept mouthing off a little, and then he would say, you're messing with the wrong guy, but he'd back away. And then finally, after an hour of that, the bus came by. Everybody was a little tense there at that bus stop. And then as he's getting on the bus, see, I didn't want to leave first. Then he's getting on the bus, he says, and we're not through. I said, you don't have to get on the bus. He didn't get on the bus, but he didn't do anything. He'd back off at the bus again. And I'm going to wait. I'm not going to leave. Now, I'll tell it because Bobby's, I'm sure, because Bobby was going to get on the bus and leave and go into town. And then when they all finally got on the bus, and it pretty much was settled, then Bobby stayed. I said, oh, did you leave? He's going to go talk to George and all. There are things that happen on the street, of course, that are bad things. And people do get hurt at bus stops and things of that nature and all these other things. But for the most part, if you're out on the street with friends or like the way I do ministry, you do turn the other cheek. But you can't let people, disrespect you, and you never start. Legally, somebody has to touch you first. You see, that was legally. So that's on my mind, and I'm uploading the videos. But he knew, and he didn't want to have to look bad. in front of some of the people that knew him, because he plays that image all the time. And so I told Furman, I said, I'm going to have to go have a talk with that guy. And today I did, because sometimes I just leave it alone. I said, no. So that's what happened. It wasn't a big thing, but it was just something that, bugged me. It gave me something to do for 2 hours, in the sense that I sometimes don't feel well, and about 3 in the afternoon, got to go do a walk by the water or whatever. And so at least I looked for Sarge and did find Sarge. And some of my other friends, Sarge is not a regular in Flower Bluff, and my other friends are regulars, and they know Sarge more. And then sometimes they would tell me, oh, I got into it with Sarge, or Sarge, they had some other problems with Sarge. So he's kind of new, and we're welcoming in Flower Bluff. You want to come hang out, even black friends and other people, it's not, it's just sort of like, if you come in from town, don't be playing that, There's people that have been here for a long time. And most of them will accept you if you're new and you're coming from town, and most of them are not like you're in our turf type thing. But then when you come in from town and then you act like that, that's not good. You shouldn't do that. That's just like a rule you shouldn't do. Any news, we've had a lot of news I've not covered. There were a lot of opportunities for me to speak and teach that I've just passed up. And I won't really do it on these, because these are just little like updates that you see. They were doing 12 minutes. Tomorrow you'll see the next Corinthians study. These are old studies. I don't have a chance to reread my notes or anything like that. And these are studies that I figured I would rework them a little bit, though I'm not rereading what I wrote at the time, and I'm sure some of it might just be dated. But what I'm trying to develop is a system where all of the past teachings, all the past studies, all the videos, even though these are all accessible on all types of different sites, it's still until you post them. That new site called VK, which is a Russian Facebook, I'm grateful for it. I have like 7 friends. But it'll tell me on most of the posts, just about all of them, it says, oh, you had 100 views. And I do find that interesting, because those are just little posts I do. And those that are in the whole stream of trying to communicate, to declare and publish, we're at a stage, I could do a little update now because I'm talking this way. The major tech companies that we're familiar with, Facebook, Google, I have a lot to say about Google, YouTube. I read a news story today. Our media does not speak the truth just about ever. And one of the news stories today said, Trump has falsely accused Google or other particular search engine, Google, of bias without any proof. There is enough proof from congressional testimony. That lady was shown. There were Google employees that showed that they actually, the head of Google lied to Congress. Now that's a crime. They asked if you ever manually adjust algorithms. And enough leaked out in the last 2 months that they do that, meaning Google has a bias. And I just saw something 2 weeks ago. If I'm not a big Trump fan, but when there's bias, you can see bias. And Trump, I guess, has a Reddit site, @RealDonaldTrump, and I've never been to it. Something like that, @RealDonaldTrump. And I saw a schematic of all the search engines, maybe about 12 different search engines, Bing and Internet Explorer and everyone. Every search engine, it was a chart where you would type in @Donald Trump, whatever it was. Every single search engine, once you get to the first 5 or 6 letters and all, it brings you to that site, because that's very popular. And of course, if you start typing in, Google was the only one that you almost had to type everything in. Okay, there's enough for people that do tech stuff to realize Google is massively manipulative. Facebook as well. But yet the media, when Trump will mention something like that, the news today, one article said, Trump is lying. Now let me tell you something. Not only is there enough evidence that this happens, but it's also in the public domain. I've read these articles on tech blogs or different places. So in that case, they just flat out lie to the public and say there is no such thing as manipulation, and there is. And why should just anybody, classic journalism, try to fight against any manipulation? But our journalism the last few years, the big story the last today and yesterday now is the new Attorney General Barr is before Congress testifying. He's made some statements, but I heard a short clip on the radio of one of the statements, and he basically said, we have to take seriously if our intelligence agencies opened up any spying or any investigation on a political campaign, because we have a lot of checks and balances in our government that prevents, we refer to banana republics where there's countries of Venezuela, which there's much to say about Venezuela right now, and Russia. But what we try to avoid in our country is the intelligence agencies, be it the FBI, the CIA, or even people in Justice Department. If there's any type of, there was political, influences in order to investigate a president, that's an important thing to make sure, and there was a lot of that. And I don't want to recover all that, but there was a lot of that. Just certain aspects that would be very troubling to anybody would be one of the people that worked in the agencies, Bruce Orr, his wife's name was Nellie Orr, on the whole investigation of Trump, and she worked, if you will, for a political arm of the Democrats, meaning they collected Fusion GPS, a whole bunch of stuff, but this wife of this high official within the government agencies was working to collect political dirt on a candidate, Trump. And she herself handed some of that information to her husband, which he gave to others, and that had to do with investigation. That's real troubling. And any historic journalists that wanted to pride themselves in exposing stuff that is wrong, they have done none of that because their own bias has prevented them from being good investigative journalists to expose. So you have too much political stuff at play. And in all of these, getting back to what I said a minute ago, when you look at all of these websites and all, Facebook is, the UK is now going to put all types of regulations on them. We're heading that way with the other ones. So for people that want to have outreach, I mentioned VK or Flickr or BitChute. I'll just tell you some of my videos, when they're not really special, like 300 views or whatever, it's not a lot. But I know YouTube messes with my view thing. But it would also show you these big ones. That's not really how to have a niche market. If you're communicating scripture, you're teaching, it's really better to go with some of these other ways to communicate, all right? And so I utilize Facebook. It really has become more or less of a link sharing platform for me. And I love all my Facebook friends. I sent the other day, because I was looking at my laptop in the evening, I said, let me send a bunch of friend requests. If you got one, it's because I just saw, like, people you may know, find friends, and names of people, but some I didn't, some I saw, and I didn't just hit the friends thing, and it's nothing. I just said, let me send some friends things out. I realize most people on Facebook don't want to see. I post, like I said, a lot of videos, and then and that's like it. And I know some people won't want to see all that, but really, that I just use it as a sharing thing, and you see me share those links. But for those that are wanting to communicate, churches and ministries, you can put most ministries have a staff, and if you just put one person to do this, meaning How many good messages has the pastor preached these last 5 years? Just catalog those, and over many years, if there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, you repost those. Because the reposting of a Sunday sermon or a teaching, even if you repost it, but I have like about 800 and something teaching quality videos or whatever, they all get, so many views every single time you post them. You try not to post them more. And the purpose is for people to view what you're teaching or for people to read. So churches should be able to just have one person on staff. Say, look, every night you're going to just put 8 videos out or 10 or whatever. And utilize these things. Don't become... I trend away from YouTube. I still use it, and I have just about a lot of videos on there just to keep it going. But look, those other ones, really, Flickr and BitChute are video sharing sites. You get many, many more views independently before you even share them to all those other things. Utilize that. Let everything go forth. That was on my mind, and I wanted to share it. I wanted to share it because it bugged me. I don't go looking for trouble. But if someone, and I offered this guy a ride, because I gave him a ride before, so he kind of stays in town. I said, hey, I was going to offer you a ride. And he answered me like in a smart way. And just because it was him and me, I'm not going to put up with that. I might be nicer if like there's other people around, not always. But I let him know right off the bat, basically, when I finally did catch up with him. I'm not going to put up with that stuff. We forgive, but if you let people on the street walk over you, and there's some people that, might do things of that nature, then you might as well not be on the street, okay? Prison has those types of things where people, oftentimes when they're doing prison time, they just learn you can't let people walk over you. If they see that, then you're like a patsy. So I'll end it with that. I think Sarge knew, pretty much at the end that, everything was okay. But it was also maybe good that my friend Bobby, I didn't want him to be there. I kind of shoot him away because I was waiting for, but maybe it's good because people will know, like, oh, this person has been putting on an image and maybe using that to intimidate other people. And that's the sense I had. If somebody, was in the military many, many years ago, and they're on the street, and maybe they're struggling, and they still look exactly like they just got out of boot camp, which is how Sarge looks, it means they're pushing an image maybe to bum more money when you fly the sign. I just kind of saw that, Some of the guys thought Sarge was like a retired military, and there were questions I had. He said all his brothers were killed in Vietnam, and he was the last one, and I don't believe if all your brothers, siblings are killed, I don't believe they let you see action if you're lone surviving. So there's I had some of those questions, and I said it to him today because then he pulled that, you're messing with the wrong guy, and like the karate look and all, and I'm military, and I said, I really don't know about all that story you tell us, Sarge. I was a little more mad at that moment, and he just heard me too. I said, basically, I think some of that stuff you're making up. If you gotta know, if people have to survive on the street certain ways, maybe that's one way everybody thinks, oh, this guy is, okay, I'm not really demeaning any of that. But you don't disrespect other people. If you're around other people and they accept you for what you claim, you don't disrespect them. Because if you're big on the respect and all that, and even if some of it's not true, that whole past, then you don't disrespect other people. You treat them the same, okay? So that'll be the little update. And you'll see this. You won't see all my other videos. I went 24 minutes. And most of you should be able to access. I tried to put all of my teaching videos should be on Dropbox and OneDrive. Many of them are on all those other sites you see, but all of them should be on YouTube, Dropbox, and OneDrive. I added cloud links and everything. Some of you see them if you go to my website. So you should be able to download them all whenever you want. But I think some of them, as I'm sharing them in the evening from Dropbox and all, it seems like the links are not being made public until I share. And I'll notice every night, just from one site, I share to many sites, but they'll all start getting so many views. And I'm thinking, oh, that's fine. I think maybe some people are just downloading, which is great. And maybe I'm just making them downloadable when I share them. It's possible that's the way it's working. And maybe some people are not. They download each one and that's great. If there's a benefit to them. Whenever I teach a series or a study, it's important that you follow through with the whole study. And you can, yes, in the evenings I'm listening to some courses from Reformed Theological Seminary on Roku. The history, look, one of the guys today I could have taught today, they were talking, I got up to Timmins early, and they were talking about the cosmos. And one of the brothers, he studied philosophy and everything. As I started telling him about Ptolemy, I told him a little bit about how the view of the solar system was actually fairly accurate, even 300 to 400 years, 300 and something years before the time of Christ. One of the generals under Alexander the Great was named Ptolemy, Ptolemy. One of his family developed an understanding of the solar system that was very accurate. And then I said, it's up to the time of the Copernican revolution, Galileo, 1500s, the scientific revolution, Kepler. That's what I said. The only thing that really changed was we went from having an understanding of geocentricity. Say, I taught a lot today. And we said our solar system is heliocentric, not geocentric. The only big change was everything's not going around the Earth. It's the way Ptolemy had it, but everything is going around the sun in our solar system. I said, but that understanding of the way everything operates, we didn't all believe the Earth was flat until Galileo. That's something that a lot of people are confused on. So this brother, he must have studied philosophy, because then I got into the philosophers, and he was familiar, and so it was very interesting. I forget his name, but he's on the street. Then when he sat next to me later, I thought, oh, he's going to bum a cigarette. No, he wanted to. So we had very good teaching there. Could have taught a lot. We are in the world to be the light. Okay, everything's not going to be perfect, and I don't justify, going after people or whatever it is. Or there's just a different way that if you're like on the street all the time, that things are. And I'm not, violent. So, all right, let me end it with that. This is the one update, and this will be the last video for today because I still review it and upload it. God bless everybody.